Greetings, greetings, greetings. You're now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, know nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. This is the vault, episode 482, 2023, Q2, private wealth event recap. Definitely appreciate all the long-time listeners for listening to this episode. Definitely appreciate you if you're new to the network of the vault and the recordings that we put out and talk about private trusteeship and private matters more so than anything. So we definitely want to thank you all for listening new and as well and the old. Definitely want to hop in into this episode and say Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com. That's the email you can reach out to Christian at trustchristian.com. 2023 Q2 Private Wealth Event Recap. We recently, this is fairly new, and wanted to give a recap of an event that we went to recently that has a lot of dynamics to it. So we're gonna do our best to give a thorough debrief of what happened, what we saw, our observation in the private, and this is for historic purposes. So, New York, appreciate New York for tuning in live, listen, replay. Feel free to type into the chat where you listen live, listen, replay from. Always appreciate everybody that listens in from all over the world. So here we go. We go into a private wealth event recently. It's pretty much $1 billion environment. This is multiple families working in groups together. This is not something that we say, oh, we're exposing. It's not an exposure. It's the facts. So you're sitting in a room with the families. Appreciate Memphis, Tennessee for tuning in live, listening, replay. Always appreciate Memphis, Tennessee for tuning in live, listening, replay. First of all, your private education is going to cost you, especially if you're an outsider. If you didn't inherit the information, you're going to pay to get the information. That's why most of the time, the event that we went to actually, the recap that we're doing this for, it was for asset managers, consultants, lawyers, those type of people. More so asset managers, because that's who's managing billions of dollars. That's who's managing families' wealth. Asset managers. So we're in an environment where everybody says they want to be private, they want to manage money, but they really want to manage wealth. But they really want to manage an asset. So we're sitting in the room, whether y'all know it or not, families are working together. Now, the families that are working together, they are. The families that are not working together, whether you know it or not, the families working together, they don't care. They're already working with a group. They've invited families from the outside in, and they need you to work. They need you to work out. You work out for one, you may work out for most in a room. Why? Because whether you know it or not, in a private wealth space, the event that we went to, 40% of the room was interrelated. Not just through business, but through culture. Yes, they have people that have clients, that have their children working for each other's companies. Private wealth event recap. We sit in a room, we see 4 and 5 generations now working together. You almost get disgusted, and you have to be thankful. Because success breeds success. It's going to rub off. I'm sorry you weren't there. But when you're there, it should rub off. Some people are more than 5 generations. Some people are 11 generations. You think that could be intimidating? That someone has 11 generations worth of wealth, 11 generations of education in Ivy League? They don't know what it's like to not have, truly. They went on family vacations to very exclusive spots. So here we are. The recap. When you go in these environments, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give you out a heads up because it seems like it's some demystifying stupidity. When you go into a private wealth event, you dress the part. For all of any of the ones that want to be welcomed into this environment, you'll disclude yourself by not dressing the part. Oh, it's too subtle, trust Christian in the vault. It's too easy to say that trust Christian in the vault. That can't be true, trust Christian in the vault. How could that be trust Christian in the vault? Why would it be trust Christian in the vault? Because guess what? In the private wealth environment, there's a code. There's a dress code. There's a dress code. They have dinner coats. They have a sport jacket. They have business shoes. They have business pants. And when you're going to do business, which is education, you're in the environment with your peers, other asset managers. You're in the environment with other family estate managers. These people have actually told you they're managing their own estate actively, and they're over 50 and 60. And then you have multiple generations sitting in the room together. It was an interesting thing to sit there, knowing that that's how far you are away from wealth. And to know that you have to dress the part. There's no way you're going to be welcome into wealth and you don't dress the part. We're not saying you got to wear designer. We actually probably didn't see any designer. We actually had someone from the outside looking into the environment say, why are all you guys wearing black and gray and blue? Saying that we were pretty much boring. We replied to that individual, let them know that the focus is about what we're talking about. The focus is not about how we look. And what's interesting is Trust Christian Revolt done set around some asset managers. They got way more assets under management, and their shirts hanging out their damn pants. And that's not a slight. They don't give a damn. Somebody managing $1 billion, you think they give a damn if you care if their shirt is hanging out their pants? Sure, they would like to fix it. Thanks for bringing it to their attention. We're in an environment where it's about what we're talking about. Yes, you do have to come in with some business clothes, though. You think you could come in with, oh, here we go. This is the new hippie stuff. We're not knocking it, but guess what? How come the older, bigger institutions, which they're not going under. We're talking to you about 100-year-old families, 200-year-old families. If you're not making it past 200 years or 100 years, we already know you're not the example. The example is the one that's doing it. The example is the one that's doing it. Okay. And the private wealth event, recap, private families, it's business. It's not personal. It's a normal course of just doing business. It's a normal course of being around other families and understanding we have to provide value to ourselves and others. And whether y'all know it or not, we sit in this environment, we think about, you think about the thoughts, but you have to think about the emotional context of these environments, ladies and gentlemen, where you see families working together. So when you're in these environments, you have to, it makes an individual think about that. When we sit in the environment, we know what people are thinking about because they're doing it. They're practicing it. Yes, if they bring their family around, they're practicing working with their family. That's the game. If y'all only knew that the families that are already sitting in the room don't care. If you come in, the door is open. They'll give you once to come in there and show your stuff. When we say show your stuff, it's interesting to know that you can build relationships with people and they'll give you money because you built a relationship. Maybe it's humility, maybe it's not. We sit in the environments and we can talk about a lot of things today in this episode where we're in these environments and you still hear levels of misinformation. You say, oh man, for real, Trust Christian Revolt, they have misinformation in a private wealth event? Definitely. When people are able to write books and quote information from very biased perspectives, ladies and gentlemen, we have no problem with sharing in the public or in the private that information is biased to a degree coming from a writer. And so someone could say, well, the vote is biased. Well, very much so. So we're given an objective or subjective thought process towards what we saw in the environment. Appreciate Mississippi for tuning in live, listen to replay. Always appreciate Mississippi for tuning in live, listening to replay. The private wealth event recap. It's exclusive. It's elite. They're talking things that if you're not familiar with it, it went over your head. We were talking to some people at the event. They said, this is millions of dollars worth of information. By the end of the year, you're supposed to have millions of dollars more than you have at this after this event because you're sharing information. If you're saying that we're in the age of the information, right? That's what they say, right? So are you paying the big bucks? Are you coming out of your private pockets to get the private information? Oh, no, no. I want to use a public discharge so I can get rid of my private debts. I'm going to use a public discharge. I'm not going to pay and invest in the private. I'm not going to invest in my private education. Is that what an individual is saying? Because when you invest in your private education, that's what it looks like. It's an investment. You're investing to find new relationships. You're investing to find new information. That's what happens when you go in these environments. You're paying for the private information. That's what you're paying for. Oh man, how much did that cost, Trust Christian Revolt? Okay, sure. The ticket's $1,000. What would he do? You paid $1,000 to get millions of dollars worth of information. And they're still cutting corners. And that's why we love it. Because we're sitting in the environment saying, wow, somebody in their family is not worth $1,000 ticket. That's interesting, but it's not. It's interesting to see the cost of entry for private information from the elite, from the billions of dollars. They are managing billions of dollars. When you almost want to get into it, sure, it's almost like saying, did you go to Warren Buffett's event in Omaha? If you're sitting in a room, you're getting millions of dollars of information. For the cost of what? For the cost of what? To get a ticket to go to the event? That's the cost of information. But oh no, no. Do we have to pay that cost, Trust Christian Revolt? Do we have to pay that cost? Even if it wasn't 1,000, what if it was 3,000? These people are running all these different type of events nowadays. The thing about it is, what are you getting out of it? Bottom line, what are you getting out of it? Because when you get out of it, that's a ROI, right? It's an investment. But oh no, no, I don't want to spend my money on the private wealth information, Trust Christian in the Vault. I gotta go on vacation. How many vacations you been on? I've been on 2 I don't remember this how many vacations I've been on this year, Trust Christian in the Vault. Exactly. Now we know why. Now we know why. They don't have the private information. They're on vacations, ladies and gentlemen. The private wealth events, they don't go on vacations. They sat in a room and talked about retreats, board meetings. They talked about all of that. To see the need of the environment is more interesting than anything. To say what people, oh man, I didn't know if I could get in the room. Well, you didn't get in the room because you didn't inquire. Maybe you didn't seek. But if you're seeking, you'll find. I mean, it's just interesting to see, ladies and gentlemen, when you get in these environments and how friendly people are. For the most part, when you say friendly, they're business friendly for sure. The fact that you're in the environments in the private, when you invest in the private wealth events, when you go to those events, you're investing in connecting with the right people so you can establish those relationships. And a lot of times you would never meet with those people if you didn't go to those events. They might not take your call if you weren't overly persistent and met with them and went to those events. So it's almost like saying, well, how do you meet these people? You got to go to the events. You actually got to get out the house. It's no, oh, I'm going to try to stay in the house and see the webinar. Okay, have at it. So when we say they're business friendly, they're business friendly because you dress business appropriate. Oh man, I'm trying to represent my culture. Guess what? The best of them know how to assimilate for business purposes. That's it. No one's saying give up your deity. This is business, not personal. See how that works? That's why when you're in these private wealth environments, they don't care what color you are. There's no question about what color you are. Sure, might people might take those things into account. Some people might say, "Oh, Trust Christian Paul, how could you bring that up right now? How could you say that? That's so taboo to talk about that in the public. How could you say don't talk about the color? What are you talking about? It's the same thing about talking about how people dress. If you don't come into a business environment dress business casual or business friendly, you won't get received in a business manner. Do you hear that? That is a fact. That's not a bias against you. It's like saying, well, if you went to a mechanic shop, should you wear a suit? No, you should be wearing mechanic clothes. Well, the private wealth event recap said we saw the results come from the people that were dressed from what were they dressed from? They were dressed in a business casual manner. And that's the bottom line. Definitely. What else did we get out of that event? We got a ton of value out of that event, ladies and gentlemen. When you talk about value, you're just talking about where big fish are investing right now, going into the rest of the year. When you talk about real estate, when you talk about the sectors, and even talking to someone that has multi millions, that's managing billions, and to hear them agree with your thesis on possible headwinds and possible tailwinds to different industries, is hey, it's better to talk to someone smart that has a ton of capital under management than somebody that doesn't. Somebody that doesn't have any capital under management, what are they going to help you do in capital management or asset preservation or any of that? So when you're able to sit next to those people, rub shoulders next to those people, but have those conversations, and really you're able to have a really free and unencumbered conversation where you're able to share your ideas and hear other. It's like talking to someone successful in any industry that you want to talk to. Is you're throwing your ideas out there, showing value and seeing how they go against it. So it's very important to present what people always say, oh, I'm trying to present value. What do you mean you need to present value? Do it. And that's the issue that we see in the space right now, is that people come into the private sector and they may not have their ideas together, and when you're in the private sector you still have to be patient as if you're in the public. Of course you're in the private now, so now that you're in the private you have to just maintain patience and work through the private. It's a long game, not the short game. So when you go into the private sector and you're talking about the long game instead of the short game, then those decisions that you have to make momentary don't really affect you as much. You're focused, you're locked in, you're getting the things that you need to get done, and that's how that goes, ladies and gentlemen. That's how that goes. You get in there with strategic partners. Strategic partners now are around. Build those relationships. The money's going to come. It's almost like asking how many times are you willing to associate before a deal or break gets broken. And some people may feel that hey, I don't want to do that. Well, this is what we'll say, and we're proud to say it. What happens when you're not the wealthiest person in the room, but the least wealthiest? Isn't that a humbling position to be in? Isn't that a position to say, wow, this is a great opportunity? That's where you are. That's where people are. And why? Because it's good to have other people that are in positions that are advanced, so you know that you are seeking out being around great people. And it's not a slight to you, it's not a slight to them. It's just great people, meaning that they're in a position that you all are all working to maintain, grow to certain positions. So it's very important to connect with others, not just like-minded people, but people that are almost in better positions than you, quote unquote, per your perspective on where you're looking to be. Private wealth event recap. Did you take notes? Did you take notes? Did you write any notes down? You sit in these events, did you take notes, or did you just sit there and all of the speakers? Oh man, this guy's managing billions. Oh man, this woman's managing billions. Oh man, oh man. Now I know all mans. It's too late now. It's one of those things where okay, yeah, you say, oh, well, you're in the room now with the billionaires. They're managing trillions sometimes, but they're managing billions, millions. You know this. How? Just do the research. These are facts. That's how it's a knowing. Oh, okay. You're in the rooms now. And then we see people in the room. Are you taking notes? Are you asking questions? Are you shaking hands? Are you sharing who you are? Are you sharing? What are you sharing? What are you sharing? Providing to the marketplace. Are you a consumer or a producer? This is the interesting part. When you sit in a room full of producers, no wonder they're all wearing dark colors and they're not looking extra bright. Why? Because these guys are the financiers of the world. Oh man, I don't want to hear that. Ladies and gentlemen, we actually sat in a room with someone that worked with Bernard Arnault directly as an asset manager, building wealth to become the richest man right now, supposedly in the world. How do you get that relationship? You got to go into private event environments. Private wealth event environment. Don't no doubt about it. Oh man, how much that's gonna cost me? Who knows? It isn't more than we remember some guys that were holding some stuff in the Alps and these fancy places, and they would try to get you for a gaff of a quick 20 stack or 60 or 100 stack, and if they got you for a million, they did. But we never really heard of too many stories coming through the pike of too many people losing their shirt for $1 million. But we've heard tons of people losing their shirt for a 10, a 20 stack, all day, every day, 40 stack. It's interesting to hear those type of things because it's unfortunate. It really is. You go and it's not what they promised. Well, if it's not what they promised, now they underdeliver. Well, in the private wealth environments, it's about your reputation. See, the thing about it, ladies and gentlemen, Trust Christian and Vault, we're in the private wealth environments. When your face is clean, you can be seen. When your face is not clean, you might not be seen. See how that works? So it's interesting to see the marketplace and how it receives people that don't have good reputations. And then it's even more interesting to see how it receives people that actually have good reputations, and you just got to uphold that reputation. It's something you almost have to live on. It's almost got to be that's what your business is. Your business model is built around your reputation. It's all these influencers on the internet, but yeah, you just want to influence people, and they don't want to say they have a responsibility until the media says, well, if you're an influencer, you have a responsibility. Well, people that have tons of capital, they're responsible. Y'all want us to go over some of our notes with y'all? We can do that. Because it was an incredible event, whether y'all know it or not. And we're really thankful that we were able to associate with the billionaires. You know, it's a long time coming. You know, when you come from certain places and then you're able to be in the rooms with them, you gotta win when you're around successful people. That's kind of how it works. Some of the notes we really got out of the private wealth event was it's interesting. We actually saw this one. We'll give this one away. The American Bankers publication. A lot of times you don't really, uh, a lot of people don't really, read into those type of publications. But the American Bankers publication is definitely something to, get your ear on the street and, maybe subscribe and, get your ear to the street and, get around to it. Uh, you know, this was a good one that we got out of it. Who is the risk manager for your family real estate? And this is something that, we sit here and talk to people all the time, especially the ones that aren't in trust. And they'll say things, and we're just like, okay, well, if you're not in trust, we know how the situation is going to go. The listeners of the vault know how it's going to go too. Whether it goes through probate, whether it goes through a will. Okay. Who is the risk manager for that, though? Because they're going to help you get rid of certain liabilities, even if someone passes that's holding it or not. Who's that risk manager? If that's you, you got to improve your risk management skills if that's the case, as we all do. Oh, we're going to definitely do an episode about do you own your identity? We got to do an episode about that. Because in the private, you never hear them talk about trying to do anything personally. So when you hear people say, oh, I don't want to do anything personally, that's the big deal. That's the private event wealth recap. Wealth event recap. Then they say you got a virtual identity. How funny is that? They say you got a virtual identity. Yep. Here we go. This is a question for the trustees. If you've been listening this far, 27 minutes into the episode, you got what you needed. Because here it comes. Is this, when it comes to making decisions on behalf of the family estate, the question you have to ask, or a question an individual can ask, as any great asset manager would ask, is this in the best interest of the fund slash family estate? We'll repeat that again. Is this in the best interest of the fund or the slash the family estate? Now, some people may say, oh, I can't believe it's that strict of a family mandate. But whether you know it or not, yes, it can be a very strict trust mandate document that says the family estate can only apply capital to these particular projects, these particular things, in this particular manner, and go about it in a particular fashion. And that comes from, once again, the documents. Whether you say like you as a trustee making sure you have in there that that's what you guys are doing. Is this in the best interest of the fund? You look at the documents. What are we supposed to be doing? Just like the Federal Reserve has a 2% core 2% core inflation rate. See how they said it? What's in the best interest of them is trying to get inflation to 2%. That is in the best interest of the fund slash family estate. It's getting inflation to where they can manage their wealth to where they don't lose wealth at a 2% annual inflation rate. Right. Whether you say lose it or even pay a 2% annual rate. This was a great note that we got and really highlighted one particular word, which is all great managers have objectivity at all times. And when you talk about objectivity when it comes to trusteeship and when it comes to, yeah, pretty much private wealth managers, psh, they make it a point to step outside of themselves a lot and give an objective opinion, give a counter opinion or an opinion that helps them grow. Yep. It was a good event, ladies and gentlemen, to be around the elite, to play around elite players. You know, you always ask yourself, what is it going to take for me to get here? Well, getting outside of your comfort zone, most likely. Getting outside of your comfort zone, getting in there and dressing the part, talking the part. That's how it is. Building relationships. How many people are building relationships? So many people want the money, but they don't talk about building the relationships. Why? Because they not building the relationships. Oh, y'all want to talk about trust, Christian, and vault? We've been doing this for a while, and we're sitting in the rooms now for years. For years. Where are all these so-called wealth generators? You want to know where they're at? Trying to build a missile silo with their own family. Not going to happen. Rare. When you talk about doing it with others, that means you, the leader, maybe for first gen, step out and build and go around second, third, fourth, fifth, 11 generations, families. It's an investment. Appreciate Texas for tuning in live, listen to replay. Always appreciate Waco, Texas for tuning in live, listen to replay. Hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, appreciate all y'all for listening live, listening to replay. Yeah, but we could tell y'all right now, when they say, oh man, trust Christian Revolt, how does it go down? The private wealth people, they do things to weed people out. You want to know how? Simple. They'll put things on the middle of the week. They'll do events in the middle of the week when they know you got to work if you got a job. What, you going to take vacation days for your private education? Maybe not. They're doing private wealth events in the middle of the week. They're doing private wealth events at high-end hotels. It's interesting to see. You know, we look at the people sometimes that are recording the event or sitting in a room. They're on like the audio visual, and these high-end wealthy companies come in the room. It should be like such a turnover for those companies because they should just be sitting there getting the information, just like the other people that paid to be in the room, and they could sit there and take notes because you're just working and you're doing something you already unconsciously or subconsciously know how to do, and they should be like super rich after that. Who knows? Because it's about the information, right? Right. It's about what you focus on. Are you focused on building wealth every day? Are you focused on having wealth every day? Or are you going back into poverty thoughts half of the day? Oh, did he say that, Trust Christian Vote? Do you know about that, Trust Christian Vote? Are you going to poverty thoughts for the first half of the day? Are you going around poverty thoughts when you watch the news? Are you going around poverty thoughts and feelings when you're around friends and family? Then when you go back home, you got to wash it off and shake it off and get back to work because you know you're trying to put in the work for wealth thoughts and feelings. When you go into the private wealth environments, that's how they thinking. Wealth thoughts, not poor thoughts at all. Wealth thoughts. You have to come in with a wealth mentality, not a poverty mentality. For example, we saw some people come in 2 times. If you don't know how to pitch, how are you going to get someone's money? You say, "Oh wow, I'm gonna build the relationship, Trust Christian and Vote. I'm gonna come into the private wealth environments. Do I have to have a deal? Do I have to know how to pitch? Do you have money? Well, that's what I need. That's what I'm working on. Fair enough. We're all doing joint ventures, co GPs, LPs. We're doing all of these things, ladies and gentlemen. It's okay. Wealthy people work with wealthy people all the time. Private people work with private people all the time. Let's go back to it then. So if they're doing that, where are we now? Are we working with them, or do you have anything to pitch? Do you have anything of value? Exactly. That's the difference. Many don't. They don't have an idea. They think they need a business plan. You don't need a business plan. You needed the relationship. And once you have the relationship, yes, it does come down to, do you know how to pitch? Trust Christian Vote. We don't have a problem with talking about these things because it's only a few things when you're around money that gets discussed. It's called more money. We'll say it again. When you're around money, they talk about what? More money. If it's a disgusting topic for you, then it's probably not going to be something you have a lot of. But if it's something that you're comfortable with talking about, if you have a deal, a pitch, money's probably going to come to you in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. That's why I'm happy and grateful that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. That's how it works. But people, did you hear that thought? Did you hear that thought in your head? Do you think that when you're doing things? That's what the thought process of an asset manager is thinking about. So, Trust Christian in the Vault, we're great at asking questions. So we'll tell you some of the questions that we ask in the wealthy environment so y'all can hear their response. So one of the questions we asked was actually to real estate investors. Real estate investors were invested in commercial. Some were invested in what is that, like college dorm room multi-unit properties. Another one was real estate for residential single family homes, pretty much development, literally building out, cul-de-sac, multi-unit, single family home development properties. Okay. In the current market that we're in, you know the numbers, 2023 Q2. What deal would you look at and entertain that you would be willing to overpay for? Here we go. First immediate smart ass response. Oh man, we don't do that over here. Exactly. Great. Of course. Sometimes it does depend. So another individual replied. It was three individuals on stage or in the room that had an opportunity to respond, and the response was, just depends on the deal. And for the most part, those were the replies. Because when you start looking at these things nowadays, and you say, what are you willing to overpay for in real estate right now? In certain markets, it's not that they're inflated. It's not that that's a bubble. It's just those markets are really expensive right now. Some markets we're not going to say are overpriced, but there are some markets that they just appreciated so much that the sellers do not want to sell with the it's almost like where if you guys don't want to sell at a 10% depreciation from a peak, what do you think is going to happen if it's at a 20% depreciation, which sellers have seen marginal contractions in their properties where maybe they peak in 2021, 2022, they had great peaks. 2023, they've said, oh, we got double digit depreciation, mid-teens, mid-teen depreciation. So you even talk about commercial. uh it's interesting, look, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna go ahead and tell y'all the facts because we don't know. This ain't a dummy stick here. First of all, Fortune 500, these Fortune 500s over the past year have created, they've done layoffs. When you do these amount of layoffs, You need that in the marketplace so these companies can get profitable. That's what Twitter just did. That's what Facebook just did. It wasn't that they weren't completely profitable, but these companies were on the verge of saying we're not making any money because of SG&A. These companies were saying that they had all these expensive costs, most likely employees and insurance because they're in Silicon Valley, and they were paying, and not just them, many companies across the states, they cut their largest expense to the company to make it profitable. Employees. These companies are fine, ladies and gentlemen, right now. They're profitable because they cut the employees. They're, corporate America is going to be just fine. States, how are they going to fall back now? They're light. The companies are light because they don't have as many employees. And this is actually a resounding across the board from your Fortune 100 and Fortune 500. They've created, whether it's a recession in the respect that they finally laid off the workers that maybe got inflated money from the gov because these companies had cheap money to get. The money's not cheap anymore. Okay, the money's not cheap anymore. Private wealth event. We can go through it. We can sit here and talk about this all day. Y'all want to know they talked about AI and metaverse and the BS? They entertained the thought again. But how is it that we sit in the room with the families that's managing the money, not the institutions on the bigger institutions? Yeah, they're managing families' money, but oh no. We're in the rooms now where the families are managing billions as well. Not just the institutions. Families, multiple families working together. Not just institutions that are full of public depositors. And people say, oh, these companies. What about these companies? They're going to do just fine over the next few quarters. Well, we actually have some stats. Let's see if we can pull up these stats here. They have some stats in the room. They have some stats, especially about the turnover rate with the age demographics. Right now, there's been a major fall off with the 50 and up crew. So the 50 and up crew hasn't really went back to work. The 25 to 50, they're working, and that's where that workforce disparity is going on. Where the Fed is saying that the Fed says, hey, we don't have 1 million workers in the workforce right now. We don't have 2 to 3 to 4 million workers in the workforce. And actually, listen to this: they're missing that professional white collar individual that went to college, baby boomer that went to college. Those million people, they're out of the workforce. Those people that used to work for former IBM, they're out of the workforce now. And then you see these new tech white collar workers. I guess they wearing t-shirts, white t-shirts to work, and they got laid off now. So there is a white collar professional disparity in the marketplace on a professional level. But once again, we're sitting in a room where, once again, when they're talking about AI, they're talking about AI now replacing the white collar jobs, not just the blue collar jobs. They're talking about the white collar jobs. White collar jobs are going to get supposedly replaced by supposedly AI. And we sit in the room, and here's another question we ask to the wealthiest people that are in the room. Here's the question. They said that there's a thing called the digitization of the family estate. So when there's a digitization of the family estate, you're looking at an internet-based, private internet blockchain possibly sharing of family information. You all have an internal private family communication system or vault system for your families. These are the conversations that are going on now where, okay, are we going to digitize these trust documents? Are we going to digitize these business records? Are we going to put them on some type of blockchain or some type of internet or some type of computer device? Some people say, well, it's already there. Whether you all know it or not, and we know this for a fact, these families, specifically ones that have been operating over 100 years old, first of all, the internet and this whole computer stuff hasn't been around that long. So there are families that have so many records. You're asking them now to take that information and put it into a private digital place. That can be compromising. Here we go. How do you know this Trust Christian Vault? We actually saw a family sit from stage. An asset manager sure they had a business that manages family records get compromised because people were working from home. So because people were working from home on their own individual server and router, well, one of the family members' computers and network got compromised. So they got compromised for information. They said it wasn't too much of a money scare, but it was information, literally information leak. Oh, wow. Trust Christian Vault, is that a bad thing? Well, clearly, if you're in the private sector, it might be. It might be of concern. Your family may or may not want to have had specific records be leaked. Whether you know whether we know what records were leaked or not, we still want to operate in a capacity where we're aware that, okay, once again, we don't want information leaked. That's where we are, ladies and gentlemen. We don't want information leaked. And people are leaking and things happen. And so this is the issue, is are we digitizing the family estate over the so-called internet or otherwise? Are we going to digitize the family estate? Are we going to digitize the family records? You know, people ask all the time, oh, Trust Christian Vault, where am I file the trust documents? That's $1 million question. And we made millions off of that because we can answer it. Oh man, where do I file the private trust documents? Where? Where are you going to file it? In the public? If it's a private trust document, why would you file it in the public? But you got to listen to episode 482 to hear that. To think and say that. And they say this over and over and over. Where do I file the private trust document at? Where do I show that it's a real private trust? Private wealth events. You're not even talking about filing anything in the public. It's interesting to see Donald Trump. Whether y'all know it or not, he can act a fool. Why? Because he doesn't own anything. The man doesn't own anything. What are you going to do? Sue him? He doesn't own anything. That's how the families are operating. Hold on. Are you owning things? But Donald doesn't. Because it's an information gap. Maybe it's because he did go to Wharton and he has a private business education. And he's associated in the private environments as well. Bottom line. You think he didn't have to invest in his private education? People pay him to get his information. That's like saying, no, he's not a student of the game. He doesn't study the tax code. He said he's a student of the tax code. But oh, no, no. You went to the barbecue. You went on vacation. Donald didn't go on vacation. Donald's life is a vacation. You hear the difference? But we have to talk about it this way in the public. Why? Because what's wrong with saying that the business education is the formidable one? Or are you going to be tricked into thinking that it's personal when it's really about the family privately, the private family wealth estate? So tell them to sue you, because it's not about you, it's about the family when it comes down to it. So the vote is here to serve. We appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listening to replay. This was definitely we got so much more to talk about. We could talk about this for hours, whether y'all know it or not. Because when you're in these environments, ladies and gentlemen, it's all about just doing the work. You gotta associate, and you gotta have projects to get funded and work with other people and work. And most people just don't, whether y'all know it or not. And we're in these environments, and some people say, "Oh man, is it about how much money you have?" Nah, it's actually about the information you have. What information do you bring to the table? What information do you bring to the table? What information are you willing to reveal about yourself? What information are you willing to give? Hmm. And we thought about whether we would give information on this episode. But the thing about it is, why not? And that's the thing about it, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of times, people in the private sector don't even talk to people in the public, and people have reached out to the vote, and that's one of the main things they always appreciate. Say, man, appreciate you for just being authentic and private. We appreciate that. Everything set up the way you set it up, so they can just walk into knowing that, hey, this is how I really want to be. I don't want to move a certain way. I want to move a specific way. Appreciate you all for tuning in live, listen, to replay. Feel free to reach out, Christian at trustchristian.com. Trustee Training. We actually are thinking about holding basically trustee accountability sessions on Sundays. Pretty much just going back to that system, but really it's just accountability Sundays for trustees, where they pretty much, everybody always talks about masterminding, and, that stuff's cool, but at the end of the day, the main thing is what we got out of that event was you have to associate, obviously, and there is planning going on. You are sitting in a room with people that they don't just talk from stage. They don't just talk to you. They don't just talk at you. They're talking to you. They're wanting to know, what private charity are you working in? What are you doing that they can fund and work with? And that's the mindset that we talk about is, are you thinking with a wealth mentality of working with others? Because of course it requires you to be diplomatic. You might have to work with other races. You might have to work with other colors. That's where your bias has to leave. But oh no, no. Some people say, does the bias have to leave? Don't worry. When you're working globally, because you're dealing with global money, billions of dollars, you become a global minded person. When everybody says, "Oh, I don't want to be known as a United States citizen. I want to be a global citizen," that involves having enough character to not do bad deals, uphold a good reputation around the world. So when the media finally tries to throw dirt at your name, your reputation, in private environments, your reputation is super intact. The public environments, that's where misinformation and disinformation and BS can be provided, because that's what it's for. It's to confuse the dumb, deaf, and the blind. So you got to invest in the private environments. Facts. And the sooner you do that, the sooner you'll be on your road to riches. And when you're on the road to riches, you got to stay on it. You can't get off it. You know how many people we know? Oh, I took a break in my trustee training. Oh, I took a break in my trader trading. Oh, I want to trade. We talk to people all the time. They talk to us like trading ain't a 1% thing. Trading is 1%. Don't y'all ever forget that. We sit in a room where people will look at you and say, it's only one thing that matters. It's how much money did you make? How much percentage did you grow the account? That's the only thing that matters. Because everybody wants to talk about, oh, I'm going to get into trading to make some money to feed my kids. Or I'm going to try to get into trading to make a little bit of money. You think you're going to get in this environment? These are sharks. We eat minnows. This is a zero-sum game. You have to give up $1 to call lose it. And you have to take $1 to gain it. Oh man, Trust Christian voice, you sound so certain type of way. Okay. This information, those events, they're not for everybody. They can't handle those facts. Those are some hard facts for them. So when you come in these environments and you're talking about your gender and you're talking about your sex and you're talking about your color and you're talking about your religion, that was the last thing on the mind of the people when we're talking about money. We're talking about making some money. We're talking about building generational wealth. But they want to come with a distraction. That's called a distraction. It's called division. It's easy to take over when you can create division amongst the dummies. You have to work together in unity. That is the universe. But oh no, no, Trust Christian Revolt, I got an ego. I'm not dressing the part. I'm not talking the part. Don't worry. Money knows what money looks like. We could smell it. We could see it. You think you're going to get over because you think you got a distinct personality? It's about the results. That's what it's about. Not coming in here talking about, oh, well, I got to dress distinctly because I'm me. I'm my own person. Yeah, no doubt about it. But we don't, right now, are we talking about you or are we talking about the deal that you got? Ooh. Is it about you or is it about the deal that you have? Is it about you or is it about the money that you're going to finance a project? That is generational wealth private event recap. That's not, oh, we're just sitting in here. Hey, let's have a little swap session. Let's go to dinner. None of that. It's definitely none of that. Everybody says, oh, I want to go to the private wealth event. What are you talking about? If you're not willing to be inconvenienced to go to something in the middle of the week, you're probably not gonna make it. Facts. Oh man, it's a slight inconvenience to do that. Right. That was the interesting part for us because we think about stuff like that. Like, hey man, somebody would think this is an inconvenience to come to something in the middle of the week. Yeah, because they think that they got something going on other than doing what they say they're doing, which is on the road to riches and associating with other wealthy people. How is that not what you're supposed to be doing? But oh no, no, if someone is distracted, they're distracted with poverty thoughts, not wealthy thoughts. See, wealthy people associate together. So when you have wealthy thoughts, you're associating with other wealthy people. But if you're associating with poverty-minded people, you're forgetting about the wealth that's available to you. You're forgetting about the wealthy people that are available to you. Do we all invest to come around each other? Yes, the cost varies. That's a fact. But there's also a cost to the barrier of entry. Definitely. So that's going to take someone investing in themselves. Facts. How are they not investing in themselves? By humbling themselves to associate with people that have less money than them. And they're listening to hear their deals so they can give them money. Thank you. This is the wealthy thought process that we were to get in school if you went to public school. The private school says we're going to work with whoever's doing the work that can show and prove that they have a good reputation with the business community, not with the public consumers. We're not consumers in the room here. You really think that? You think you're going to sit in the private rooms and be a consumer thought process? You know what? That's what's funny is when they hear people come into the private wealth environments and they talk like a consumer. We'll give you an example. So we actually had a music panel go up. So it's just, trying to recapture this whole situation, help the artists make more money. Well, it's kind of hard to say you're not making money when you're sitting there with a gold chain around your neck and diamonds in your ear. And guess what? The people that you're saying are not giving the artist money, they're sitting in the room. They own the music distribution company. They own the publishing company. They own everything that you just talked about. And now they're data mining. Appreciate you. We're data mining. We're data mining on why you think you deserve more money. Entitlement mentality instead of presenting a deal. See, you didn't present a deal. You were just telling me why you think artists should get more money in the music industry via streams. The laws are 80 years old. Well, that means you need a good legal team. You guys don't have a good legal team? You're sitting in a room with the lawyers that wrote the contracts that you signed as an artist. You're actually sitting in a room with the lawyers because they're asset managers too. They made money because they made money off those music contracts. The lawyers that wrote those music contracts made money. They're sitting in the room still. They didn't go anywhere. They just might not be working actively as the lawyer still. And then you're sitting there and you hear these people say what's wrong with something. Talking about the problem. Why the artists should get more money. Content creators, because we're in this content creator era. Well, whether y'all know it or not, the people that are funding these things, they consider themselves creators too. So content creators, don't think you're above us. You're not above the money makers. You're not above the financiers. Not above us. What the Trust Christian have all heard was there's a middleman in the music distribution. The middleman. How are you mad that you got to cut out the middleman? That's how you know you might not think of yourself as the plug. When you think of yourself as the source, you can cut out the middlemen. But that's a defeatist mentality. Oh man, oh man, they supposed to cut the artists more money. We getting ripped off for years now. They own our publishing. They doing 360 deals. And who signed them? Oh man, I was trying to get my family out of a desperate situation. I didn't take the extra hour, maybe 2, maybe 5, maybe 10, and do a little bit of research. Man, I might need to call a legal attorney. You hear me? I might need to call a legal attorney and find out how to get the best contract before I sign the contract with somebody that's not my family, that I know is not going to do wrong by me and actually have the upper hand in the contract. The due diligence. That's fine. So they sat there, oh man, they supposed to cut more money to the artists. The artists aren't making any money. We're supposed to be able to eat off of our dream. But you got a gold chain around your neck. You got diamonds on your ear. How are you not eating? The asset manager sitting in the room, guess what? Managing billions. And we're not wearing diamonds. We're not wearing chains. We're not wearing earrings. We're in an environment focused on keeping money privately, not focused on being flashy. And then going to sit in the room with the other asset managers that you can possibly do a deal with, that you're almost asking us for money, but you really don't know how to ask for the money because you think it's appropriate to wear diamonds and gold chains and say, well, hey, I'm an artist. I'm fighting for other artists. I'm an advocate, whatever you want to call yourself. And we're supposed to get more money out of a legal contract with a publishing company, not knowing that those people are sitting in the room right now, whether you know it or not. I didn't know that. Yeah, because you didn't humble yourself. Because you didn't say, I just got to be human for a few minutes. And I got to talk to people that are pretty much like we're on the same level. We all don't have the same amount of money, but we all are really good at whatever we've done in our life so far. We're good at something. We're great at something. We're almost exceptional at something. Great. If you're exceptional at something, how can we work together now? Was that the thought process, or was it to state the industry problem of, oh, well, we need to find a way to protect the artist and do this for the artist and do that for the artist? Guess what? There is no trickle down economics. That's a theory. Y'all know. It's haves and have-nots. It's do or do not. Appreciate Melrose. Uh, Appreciate the Bronx for tuning in live, listen, replay. Always appreciate the Bronx for tuning in live, listen, replay. Once again, we go to these events all the time, and they're worth it. Oh, they're worth it. We thought about in a period of a few days when you get a chance to meet these people. It's so refreshing to be around wealth mindset people. I mean, it's like going to a family event and they're talking the right thing, the ideal thing that you want. Hey, we're all talking. We're all having a good time. It's safe. It's friendly, and man, it just feels so good to be around the mindset. It's refreshing, and it makes the interactions quality interactions. So you don't have to have as many interactions when you're in the 1%. You have to have a few interactions. That's why it's called the 1%. But oh no, no. I don't know if I'm gonna do the 1% habits, Trust Christian Vault. Like reach out to you for the accountability sessions on Sundays. We already know why you're not. We already know. But we also know why people are. Some people are challenge junkies. Some people know they need that accountability, they need that structure. We had that for years at one point. And we say, you know what? We will let the people sink or swim. But what we realized was that even the wealthy people have these accountability sessions. They don't call them masterminds anymore because it became public. What's the point of saying that they have a mastermind session, which is them holding each other accountable through a private accountability system and session and information source? That's why when we talk about the digitization of the private family estate, that's interesting to see. It could be rather challenging, for sure. It could be rather challenging. Why not? You can take now something that's hundreds of years old and put it onto what would be considered a thumb drive or something like that, a microchip or something like that. And if that information is compromised, that could be a bad situation. So when you all talk about public and private, from the Vault's perspective, just to let all of you all know, yes, it's one of those situations. We're gonna find out that you're going to see that the private is going to become more private and the public is just there. It's just what it is. When you guys sit in the rooms in the private wealth event, yeah, they're talking about security. Why would we not talk about security? That goes into the private, and you can't have information that's leaked. Appreciate you all for tuning in live, listen, replay. Feel free to invest in your private education. Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com. It's an incredible time right now. People talk about the wealth transfer going on. They talking about that stuff, but they not in the rooms with the wealthy. We're sitting there. We'll see you there. We excited. Ain't no way somebody can say, "Oh, you're yelling." No. It's an exciting thing to know that you're pursuing your dreams on the path. You got to get on the street. God dang it! How you on the wrong street? Some streets go left, some streets go right. If you're not on the right street, the wealth, you're not gonna get it. You're not gonna maintain it. You're not gonna pass it along. You think the what is this? The damn path to wealth is gonna fly up your nose? It's just gonna find you, huh? It finds everybody. It doesn't find you. You find it. You gotta seek and you shall find the path to wealth. That means investing in your private education. Is it easy? No. Are you good? It's easy if you're groomed into it. It's easy when you groom your children into it. It's hard when you haven't been groomed into it. Oh man, why am I going to spend that money? Why am I going to travel and do all this stuff? Man, no, man, oh man. Exactly. We hear it. Christian at trustchristian.com. Appreciate you for tuning in live, listen, replay. We do have Trustee Training definitely working on the next event. Looking at July most likely, so y'all definitely get excited about that. Look forward to hearing from y'all. Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, we could sit here and talk about this for hours. It was a great event that we went to, and it's just one of those things that at the end of the day, when when you get in these environments, it's an opportunity to show your greatness. And we're just thankful that we were able to engage with the elite and the best. You know, when you come from humble beginnings, when you come from zero and then you obtain $1 billion, it's a different type of feeling for something. You know, some people they say, oh, this, that, and the third, but when you taking your family out of poverty, it feels different. When you're able to get around A players and play at a high level, it feels really good, ladies and gentlemen. It's something like we say that you end up getting around those environments and you end up building new relationships and family ties with other wealthy families, and then you see that's how it is. Families are working together. Some people just have to build it from zero, and then you associate with other families that have had it for multiple generations, and that's how you build out your generations. And that's how it works, ladies and gentlemen. It's a system. And it's just unfortunate when we see people that don't look at the system. The system's going to work regardless of whether you want to do it or not. We're talking about this from a conceptual perspective. Because if a person does not get that this is a system of wealth generation and building and passing along, then all right, then you already know that they're not thinking wealthy thoughts. They're thinking whatever thoughts they want to think. That ain't wealthy though. The wealthy are associating with wealthy and they're getting wealthy results. Oh man, I ain't got $100 million real estate project on deck right now. Trust Christian in the vault. I don't have $100 million real estate project. Well, does that mean that you're not supposed to go find one now that you know that, hey, I know somebody that has $100 million. They actually told me they have more than that. And guess what? They're willing to invest into an opportunity zone in my community. Oh wow! But one part that you might want to be a little disappointed about if you don't know, they say it's a minimum 100 million. I can't do anything less than that. Their mandate is for nothing less than that. They have more than 100 million. And yes, they can't do anything less than it. So you're scratching your head saying, where am I going to figure out how to come up with a deal? Because this person is willing to talk to me. This person is willing to deal with me. And I got to figure it out. That's what entrepreneurs do. That's what great investors do. And that's what happens, ladies and gentlemen. And it's just interesting to see that people may or may not step up to the plate to actually get that done. But the opportunities are there. When people talk about a wealth transfer going on, how's there a wealth transfer going on and you're not participating? And if you are participating, you're losing it. You ain't gaining it, you're losing it. But if you're gaining it, then we know what time it is. We're sitting in a room with these individuals that are gaining it. We say, oh, trust Christian Revolt. How you know you gonna make it? Because when you associate, you made it. Right? When you associate, you made it. That's it. Oh, I want to get around like-minded people. Hold on. You want to be around wealthy-minded people, but then don't go to the wealthy event? Okay. Okay. Oh man, I'm in my 20s. I'm in my 30s. These people are over in their 50s. Okay. We were so blessed. Trust Christian and Vault was so blessed in life to be able to communicate with people at so many different areas of life. Oh, I'm older. I got money. I'm older. I'm younger. I don't have it. Or I'm younger and I have it and I don't have the knowledge, but I got it because I was really good at something. To be able to communicate with people at various levels, that's what Trust Christian and the Vault provides. Communications for trustees. Christian at trustchristian.com. Look forward to hearing from you all. It's been a blessing, to be able to grow with the audience. We got over 5,000 listeners now, and it's just been growing continuously for years, exponentially. And it's just going to be an excellent thing to continuously hear people give feedback of, are they getting out there and really getting around wealthy people? When we say that they have a resume on public record almost. Appreciate you for tuning in live, listen, replay. Always appreciate it. Christian at trustchristian.com. Peace. Hit the like and the subscribe button. Peace. Enjoy.